Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Oh, yeah.
Hey gang, what's up? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. Merry Christmas, season's greetings, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, all of these wonderful things. I don't think they have Christmas in some of those other groups. Who knows? Who cares? Let's take a look at some of the Conservative MP ladies that are certainly going to be on Santa's nice list. Santa's Canadian, as you might know.
If so, I wish him, all Americans, and more importantly, all Canadians, including Santa Claus, who is Canadian, by the way, a great and very Merry Christmas.
There was a woman murdered in broad daylight just weeks ago in Ottawa with her two children. Oh, do I have your attention now, Liberals and NDP? Do I have your attention now? I hope I do. Because this is so consequential. You may be sitting in here in your green comfy chair, but people at home are starving. Starving. These are not made up stats. This is real life. And if you go outside and you talk to people and maybe visit some of the homeless encampments, you will know what is happening. Food banks are running out of food. The people who used to volunteer at a food bank are now using a food bank. And you know, the 2024 Hunger Report from Food Banks Canada showed these shocking statistics. Over 2 million users in 1 month, 30% of which are children.
Well, do you know Stephanie Cousy? She flips out, she points the finger. Let's check.
Speaker, what's funny is that the worse the scandal, the quieter the House leader speaks.
Yes.
After 9 years, we have another scam in the Arrive scam scandal. We have 3 new cases of fraudulent billing that has been sent to the RCMP. Madam Speaker, this is now a total of 7 cases that have been sent to the RCMP of fraudulent billing. Canadian taxpayers have been scammed a total of $5 million in this Arrive scam scandal fraudulent billing. So why is this government always intent on giving money to fraudsters and scamsters while Canadians are lined up at food banks?
Cousy, the time is yours for 1 minute, 10 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Fortunately, it is apparent that you do know there is an election in the United States today, as you indicated that in your opening statement. But you spoke in your opening statement about how security is at a pivotal moment in the history of Canada, in the history of the world, and yet there is so much that you don't know. I'm here to tell you today, Canadians expect you to know. And if you hope to one day be the leader of the official opposition, Canadians will expect you to know. Madam Minister Melanie.
Member for Lakeland.
Look, we all know the Prime Minister says women experience him differently, but it's his pattern to elbow them to the side, and it's sad to see a woman spinning for him. He's incompetent, unaccountable, and bullies subordinate women, blames and shames them, then replaces them with his buddies. He's aggressively recruited carbon tax Carney, yet calls himself a proud feminist. Canadians can't afford this. Will this complete weak fake stop all the hypocrisy and admit his inflationary spending forces the finance minister to break her $40 billion deficit promise?
So based on that, how can the Liberals and your anti-energy, anti-private sector colleagues possibly justify imposing an oil and gas cap on Canada, a job-killing oil and gas cap on Canada?
I'm going to start answering the question, and Minister Wilkinson may want to offer some thoughts. Look, I do think that in the areas where it's possible for everyone in this committee and everyone in our House to agree, we should. And I think that it is really meaningful and actually great that we have completed a nation-building project that both Rachel Notley and Danielle Smith support. That is a good thing for Canada. I also absolutely agree, as do all economists, that oil and gas is an important part of Canada's economy. Having said that,
my question was
it is absolutely inappropriate for conservatives to criticize our government when it comes to pipelines. We got a pipeline built to Tidewater. Conservatives did not. That is the reality. This is a nation-building project. I think there was in the Calgary Herald, there was a senior Alberta energy leader talked about this as a nation-building project, and it was our government that got it
because
built.
of your lack of getting pipelines done. Does it self-impose a job-killing oil and gas cap on itself? The United States does it?
The key question here is who got a pipeline built and who didn't.
So
and
the answer is that
our
United
government
States
built.
does
It's
not.
a nation-building project that is contributing meaningfully to our national prosperity and to good wages for Canadian workers. I think that is a record I am proud to stand on.
Okay.
I'm happy to answer the question about the emissions cap. I mean, the emissions cap has not actually been announced to date, but it is.
Great conservatives that we like to watch here. Melissa Lansman's a fun girl to watch for sure. Like, Melissa is in charge in House Commons and in these committees. Let's take a peek at her taking a piece off of, what's her name? Lena Diab. She's the chair of the Justice Committee, and she is such a mess. Anyway, so let's take a peek at Melissa Lansman ripping her up. Melissa's a fun one to watch. Let's go.
Came here to this committee to talk about, and since then, since that study on anti-Semitism, we've seen gunshots into schools in this country. We've seen fire bombings into businesses. We've seen Stats Canada reports that say that 70% of the hate crimes in this country are targeted at less than 2% of the population. And right now, what people watching at home see is that...
Madame la Présidente, en quoi...
Madam Chair, how is that tied to the motion we have on the table? We're asking for a 30-day extension. Not that Mr. Vierson necessarily be the first person to appear, but that we go through the list of witnesses, and so that we'll be able to study it.
Interrupt a conversation about the anti-Semitism study that you're supposed to be having in committee, calling relevance on it? That is worse than this government's inaction on anti-Semitism. Are you actually serious?
Come on now. This is not how we run our committee.
I've actually not only sat in the meetings, I've actually been sitting in on the report, which that member has not been doing. We're waiting to do that report. We're all here to do that report. It's you guys that are filibustering and stopping us from dealing with the anti-Semitism report. You should be ashamed.
Madam Chair, this is debate.
We'd had this report done.
You voted against his motion.
He has
you
no
voted
motion.
in favor of his motion to delay the report.
You're filibustering a discussion to have a study that is your own private.
Madam Chair, this is my speaking time.
Okay, let's get back to order. Let's be clear here. There was one motion that was put, which every member voted for. And then we moved on to a second motion to extend for 30 days to bring witnesses in. And all I hear is language and talk about other things that may or may not be relevant. So, Ms. Lansman, the floor is to you, but I know you just came in, so it's 12:37 here in Ottawa. I know you haven't been here for the first hour and a half.
You can watch this online.
You
and
can.
That's what I was doing in my office, and that's why I came here to speak to this, because I was expecting the committee to study an anti-Semitism report, just like everybody else who is watching this committee today, just like those witnesses that came here to testify, and just like the members opposite who are pretending that they want to actually, for once, take anti-Semitism seriously in this country. 70% of the hate crimes in this country.
That is out of order, and that is definitely not accurate. I am the chair. You will have to respect me or leave, number one. Two, I have been here. I have listened since May, when all the witnesses have come on both studies. I have taken it in. All the emotions that have come from the witnesses, from staff, from members, and I'm still standing here. So I deserve the respect as the chair. These are not easy studies, and we would like to conclude them, I agree with you, and I agree with all of you. So I am asking for you to all see a way to do that. If you would like to take a 5-minute break, I have no problem to do that if you think we can come to a conclusion.
Point of order.
Mr. Brock.
Madam Chair, I wholly respect your authority with respect to this committee, but you have absolutely no standing and no privilege to exclude a member and ask them to leave. She is duly elected, and you do not possess the powers to force her to leave this committee.
Point well taken, thank you. But I also expect every member to respect the position of the chair.
And likewise, I ask the chair to exercise neutrality, as chairs are expected to do, notwithstanding your affiliation to the Liberal Party of Canada, and allow members latitude to get their point across without unnecessary interruptions.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Look, the suggestion that the chair has in any way been impartial at any point during today's meeting or any of these proceedings is factually incorrect, Mr. Brock. And I think that other members of this committee will agree with me on that point. So to bring partisan politics into an accusation against a chair like that is completely unfounded. That's exactly.
I was reminding her.
So, listen, I appreciate that, Mr. Maloney. I really do, and I appreciate Mr. Brock, but he wasn't, and if he was, it would be ridiculous based on how I act in this committee or any other committee. So let's move on. I'm okay with it now. Ms. Lanceman, I'll give you back the floor, but please try and be relevant.
I'm going to continue because I couldn't get a point out before you called irrelevance on me, Madam Chair. And I know that you may not like the facts of the matter, but that doesn't mean that you can censor a member and in any way ask a member of the House of Commons to leave a committee. I think that's out of line, and I'm going to put that on the record. All of that to say is that we were going to get to a study on anti-Semitism, where members of this committee heard from witnesses from across the country, and I'll make my point again because I was interrupted a number of times, and since that study, we have only seen this issue get worse in this country. So it is astounding to me that members of this committee who were part of that study, who purport to take this issue seriously, don't want to get to this study. So as such, and to prove that, first of all, I don't have to prove that the issue has gotten worse in this country because it has. All you have to do is look at the encampments on university campuses, the shootings in cities, the violence in the streets. But since the committee doesn't want to get there, I have a motion to prove to everybody at home that this committee is blocking the study of the anti-Semitism.
We have a motion already on the table.
And I have a motion, and I'm allowed to put a motion down, Madam Chair.
Wait now, just give me a minute. Confer, just give me a minute. You cannot put a motion on the floor if we have a motion already.
Oh. I will then ask for unanimous consent to move that the committee proceed to the consideration of the draft report on anti-Semitism and additional measures that could be taken to address the valid fears that are being expressed by Canada's Jewish community, and ones that have been expressed by Canada's Jewish community since that. So I'll ask for unanimous consent to move to this motion to show everybody at home that this party is not serious about this issue, that this government hasn't taken this issue seriously.
I'm going to suspend for a few minutes.
And will always be great when there's no tokenism. The hypocrisy of this Prime Minister knows no bounds. He lectures everyone else about progress, saying women's rights and women's progress are under attack. My question for this Prime Minister is, will he park his hypocrisy and stop attacking the rights of women in his own caucus? Is this fake feminist prime minister going to really bully Canada's first female finance minister and have her read Carbon Tax Carney's update on Monday?
I've seen the fake feminist prime minister do this before, pushing strong women out of cabinet. Yet the prime minister's hypocrisy is on display as he lectures about him being a proud feminist. The Globe and Mail reported on the prime minister's aggressive recruitment of conflict of interest Carbon Tax Carney as tensions increase with the current finance minister. So will the fake feminist prime minister park the hypocrisy and admit his inflationary spending is forcing the finance minister to break her $40 billion deficit promise?
Has lost control of spending and his cabinet. The finance minister promised to cap the deficit at already reckless $40 billion, but now it turns out the prime minister is shoving her through her own guardrail. The fake feminist prime minister is setting up Canada's first female finance minister to take the hit for his reckless spending so that he can then officially bring in the unelected man who has been pulling the strings. Why is the Prime Minister bullying the Finance Minister into breaking her $40 billion deficit guardrail promise and forcing her to deliver Carbon Tax Carney's fiscal update?
The Prime Minister, who has long self-described as a feminist, starting in July and through anonymous sources, have repeatedly maligned Canada's first female finance minister by undermining her competency. This week, reports have suggested that the finance minister has been at odds with the prime minister, who's been bullying her to blow back her already exorbitant $40 billion deficit. And now we've got female cabinet ministers defending the prime minister's decision to bring in an unelected man to replace her job. Why?
After 9 years of this Liberal government, everything is broken. And you don't need to take my word for it. And I'm going to note that it's especially the procurement system within the Government of Canada. This is not a partisan statement, but a sentiment that is also shared by the Procurement Ombudsman. In an article from Blacklock's reporter titled $25 billion Contract System Broken, the Procurement Ombuds said that the Canadian system is kind of near the bottom tier, and that's a quote. He went on to say that the irregularities, such as the sweetheart deals, are symptomatic of a broken system. And on Tuesday, when he appeared before committee, he gave us some examples, such as, and it was quite a list, such as We Charity, ArriveCan, McKinsey, Bait and Switch, and now Indigenous procurement. And as you said in your opening comments, Minister Duclos, Public Services and Procurement Canada works with all departments when it comes to procurement. So billions of dollars are being wasted and going to Liberal insiders who are basically fleecing taxpayers. How much money are taxpayers on the hook for outsourcing this year? Can you provide us with a number?
Well, I'm very glad that we're talking about procurement this morning, because procurement in the federal government represents approximately 400,000 contracts and other activities that, in fact, just dating back 2 years ago, have saved the lives of hundreds of thousands of Canadians because of the immense ability to save, the issues that we were obviously facing in hospitals and across Canada, vaccines and PPEs and other things, and pointing to the successes and the challenges, which you're correctly pointing to, that we're having with the national shipbuilding strategy, defense procurement.
Excuse me, Minister, I didn't point anything out about the national shipbuilding strategy. I asked how many contracts are being outsourced and how much are Canadians paying for those contracts to external consultants.
And I'll come back to that in a moment.
I would actually like you to just provide me with the answer now.
Well, we have, I'll come back to what I thought would be my first point. I'll come back to that second. But on external services procurement, as you will know, we have significantly reduced those dollars because we don't need those investments so much as we did need them during COVID, where the lives and the safety of Canadians were extremely important to the federal government.
By how much have you decreased the amount of funding being spent on external contractors?
So by approximately 15%, because that's the right thing to do.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics.
Oh, yeah.
These Liberals are driving me a bit nuts. I might have been a little bit that way in the first place, but they push you over the edge. This woke shit, it doesn't fly, guys. We're open-minded here. We really are. Not to the libtard bullshit woke think, though. Won't give in. Screw them. Love us.
I speak for the majority of Canadians. I think I speak for people who don't have a voice in this government. I think I speak for people who feel they have been censored and shut up for too long by the mainstream media. And I'm proud of it. Because right now in this environment, that is the only way to protect yourself. If you are ever working for an organization that has creative control over you, you're going to find yourself in hot water. And quite frankly, that is the majority of media outlets within this country too.
Okay. So right now, you're telling us right now that you're not going to take any different steps to ensure that the people that are paying you are legitimate and don't have ulterior motives.
The steps I'm taking is I'm not going to work in media again because I am tired of this subterranean Fed-level nonsense going on, and I would like to just go on with my normal life as a Canadian, not being harassed by CSIS or the government or you people.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. Anyways, you never know what you're going to find. Yeah, Larry Brock can't get any words out without a stupid point of order from one of these loser Liberals. And Lena Diab is the worst chair. I think she's worse than Gigi Fry. I know that I've taken down all of my videos from Pornhub. I don't have any more on there, I don't think. You can check it out on EhrenEmm. Go on Pornhub and see what you can find.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, I'm actually really glad to hear that from my honourable colleague, because no protester should be in front of anyone's house, except when the convoy was here, they cheered them on in front of so many residents in Ottawa. Exactly. And my residents. They cheered on my residents.